Hi everyone, I'm Jill with Whispering Willow Farm and welcome back. Today I am doing a seed unboxing and I'm really excited about this. We're going to be pretty specific today. I'm only going to be unboxing and sharing with you guys greenhouse varieties. So I'm a small scale grower. I live in Central Arkansas, Zone 7B. We live on 4.3 acres, but less than an acre of that is actual food production. And so we have to have these lean, efficient systems in place. We grow a lot of hybrids under tunnels. That way we can max out, and we grow specific greenhouse varieties that really thrive in that environment. Now we grow a ton of heirlooms. We have a massive raised bed garden, and I even think I snuck in some heirlooms here. But I know, and I talk to a lot of people, and the consensus that I get is I really want to grow a lot of food, whether you want to reduce your family's grocery bill, maybe you have dreams of preserving your harvest, or maybe you even want to sell to market, whether that's a CSA, a farmer's market, an online share. And I don't want you to be limited by the space that you have. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, having grown and sold to market, and also just growing to reduce my family's food budget, variety plays a massive role. Knowing your varieties, knowing the environment that you're growing in, knowing how to succession plant these things are going to be the success for you. And so I've kind of taken the guesswork out of it. And so I want to share with you guys some of my tried and true greenhouse varieties, what I ordered for tunnel production this year. That way, if you have not started buying your seeds yet, I can give you my personal review. And then of course, every single year I add in new hybrids and heirlooms as trial crops to see how they combated against pests and disease, what their flavors were, and all sorts of other stuff. So there are going to be some varieties in here that I have never grown before, but that's kind of how we keep experimenting. We just add a few crops in each new season. Here I have my Johnny's seed order. Johnny's is based out of Maine. They do a ton of production growing. I have bought a lot of different seed, and if you are wanting to do this at a professional level in your backyard, not a small scale, Johnny's is going to have a ton of organic options for seed. Their germination rate is exceptional, and then for me, there's a lot of things that we are growing in high yields, and therefore I need a lot of seed, and so they have great bulk options as well, where you can get a little bit of a discount if you buy more seeds. So let's start to unpack. So first and foremost, I have got my order here. I never throw this away. I keep all of my orders and I jot this down into a spreadsheet. I think it's super important to keep up with the crops that you're growing, the location that you're growing in, if you need to have them on a succession or not. So if you want to have success for your farm, varieties are a key role, but also more importantly, it's the back end. How are you organizing? How are you staying prepared on when you're going to start these, transplant them out, harvest, do your second succession, etc. And so always make sure that you are keeping your invoices, putting them in an Excel spreadsheet, notebook, whatever your style is. Just make sure that you keep this information somewhere. So these are going to be kind of grouped in a few different ways. This year we are trialing a lettuce CSA share, and I am trialing growing a few different lettuce varieties for that, as well as carrots and radishes and kind of everything you need to put together a salad. We're also doing a lot of heirloom edible flowers for this as well. And so I would tell you, if you're wanting to grow food to sell, this is just like not at all this video, but the farmer in me can't help but tell you these things. If you're wanting to grow food to sell, have a plan, be able to execute that plan, be able to have a plan B to that plan. And so for us, this is just a fun thing that we're doing. We're experimenting with our community on. And so I've got a ton of lettuce seed. Before I bought this lettuce seed, I did research. I figured out what was going to do well in my zone. So that is another thing. Know your zone, know your growing climate, understand varieties that will and won't do well. And that is going to take a little bit of research from your end, but I always find that it yields great success and it's always worth doing. So first up, we have our mixes of lettuce. This is a few different varieties of purples and green lettuces and Salanova and head lettuces. So first up, we've got a Salanova lettuce, which this is the green sweet crisp. I'm gonna make it here to where you guys can screenshot this if you want to. These are just some tried and true varieties for my area. And then we have a Tropicana. These are all pelleted as well. If you are seeding a lot of lettuce, getting a pelleted seed is just gonna make that a lot easier. Here we have a magenta summer crisp lettuce. So this is just gonna be one of those beautiful purple lettuces. We have got a Salanova green butter. Salanova red sweet crisp. So a lot of the varieties that I got as well, I got the red and the green version of it. And a lot of them too, I made sure if I'm wanting to put it in a salad mix, I wanted there to be different textures, some frilly ones, some, you know, butter crunch type ones. Lots of Salanova that I could harvest as baby greens or not. Here's a Salanova red incised. We've got a summer crisp. This is a Muir pelleted version. And then we have a New Fire red. This is actually exceptionally pretty. So here I had, you know, my lettuce, my baby green varieties figured out. But like I'd mentioned, if I want to do some sort of CSA, then I have to figure out what's gonna go with that. And so for me, I knew that I wanted to have the whole package. I wanted to be a one-stop shop for people. And also if I were to take it and sell it wholesale, that I had everything you would need. So I'm gonna share with you guys the radishes and the carrots that I bought for this little experiment. So for my carrots, I bought a Napoli variety. I've grown these for the last 3 years. Very uniform, big carrots. And so that's what I really liked about this one. And then this is a variety called Bolero. I think I've also grown this. I think this will be my second year to grow it. Very, very uniform. Again, it's just your standard orange carrot. I have grown carrots of all sorts of fun colors. I've grown the rainbow. I've grown, you know, the purple, the red, the yellow, the white, all these different things. One thing I have noticed with growing those is that they aren't those fat, uniform carrots. They grow a little bit wonkier, they're much skinnier, and if you're wanting to grow food to sell, I think that most of them would be considered about a B grade, and we're really looking for an A grade. And so for me, I just kind of refrained from growing any other carrot other than an orange because I knew that I could grow radish and throw a lot of color in there, and that would kind of offset not having colorful carrots. But if you're just growing food because it sparks joy for you and you want all the color, that I totally recommend. They're beautiful to look at. They're just not always uniform in what you are, you know, harvesting. And then I did 3 different radish varieties, and this is where I knew I was gonna get some color in there. And so we have got the Mini Mac F1, and this is just this really cool oblong white radish. It tastes really good. It's really pretty, super uniform. We have got the Bravo, and this is one of my favorites. This is the most beautiful color of purple that you've ever seen. These are massive radishes too. They're great storage radish. You can put them in different kimchis and slaws, but I absolutely love growing this one. Lastly, I got a Red King 2, and this is a beautiful red variety, and so I got a purple, a red, and a white just to kind of play on colors with your orange and your different purples and green lettuces. I thought they would go really nicely together. Now I am gonna pause and interject for a second and tell you guys that if you are growing food for your family and production and high yields aren't necessarily a goal, I don't know that I would really emphasize on hybrid production, because I'm about to share with you guys some cucumbers that I buy. They're hybrid cucumbers. This will be my second year growing them. They're spectacular, but the seeds are super expensive. And the reason that is because they are so productive, right? And that's great if that's what your goal is, but if your goal is just to have a cucumber, you know, a couple times a week with a dinner, I don't know that it justifies that. But if you are wanting to sell cucumbers, you're wanting to ferment cucumbers, you're wanting to make pickles, you're wanting to juice a lot, then it is worth it, in my opinion, to go ahead and buy that seed at a higher cost, because it's going to produce more in yield than the seed itself cost you. Here I have a Katrina cucumber. These are the most prolific cucumbers I have ever grown. We succession sow them out, And quite literally from spring until winter, we have got cucumbers in the high tunnel. They taste amazing. They're great fermented. This seed packet cost me $19. I mean, it is organic seed, so that is something to take into account, but I know that I'm going to yield more than the cost of the seed. But that is something, if that's not a goal and a priority for you, then maybe going with a different type of variety would be a good option. And then we have another variety called an Irachi. I'm probably not pronouncing that right. This is one of those experimental crops for me. It is a white cucumber. It's supposed to be a greenhouse production, and so I'm going to grow this alongside the Katrina and compare, you know, production, disease, pest, and also just, you know, how much it yielded in the taste and flavor. And so this is one of those to where I can just kind of narrow down which one I want to continue to grow from here on out. All right, so next up we are moving into our hybrid tomatoes. I cannot express the value enough if you are growing in a tunnel to grow hybrid greenhouse varieties. Those greenhouse varieties were specifically crafted to withstand the humidity that comes in a tunnel. They have production in mind. They're very disease resistant. They're very uniform. So especially if you are selling or even just wanting to preserve and put up a lot, I think it's a great option. We were yielding over 100 pounds every single week from our tunnel, and we were just growing in one tunnel. And so hybrid varieties, greenhouse specific varieties, are going to be best grown in a tunnel. So make sure when you are, you know, rummaging through the seed catalog or you're looking at those seeds online, it will say specifically greenhouse production or greenhouse tomato, greenhouse pepper, etc. Just make sure that you are paying attention to that. And so we have got some fun varieties here. We are going to be growing the Grand Marshal Determinate variety. We're growing this as like our paste tomato, and we're going to be using this for sauces, you know, spaghetti sauce, ketchup, things of that nature. And then we have an Abigail F1 hybrid here. This is just going to be a beautiful red variety. I am growing some yellows and orange heirloom tomato varieties, and so I wanted to grow a yellow hybrid variety to be able to do comparison as far as taste. Now when you're growing a hybrid, you're not growing with flavor in mind, you're growing with production in mind, and so I just kind of wanted to do some comparison myself. So this is a Lemon Boy Plus, and it's just going to be a yellow hybrid variety of a large slicer. And then I've got some fun grape tomatoes. This is a golden sweet, so it's just a yellow grape tomato. And then I'm growing the Sakura, which is just a standard red. I grew this last year, and oh my goodness, I had cherry tomatoes for days. And then I am also growing an heirloom variety in the tunnel. So this is a carbon, and it's a greenhouse specific. And so that was another thing that I wanted to do too, is I wanted to grow a hybrid greenhouse tomato and an heirloom greenhouse tomato side by side to see which one produced more and just really kind of identify some of the characteristics between the two. So if you're growing some varieties and you know you're going to need an abundance of them, I do recommend doing a comparison of like an heirloom and a hybrid to see which one yielded the most, what the flavor was like, if you had more pest or disease with one versus the other, did you have to treat one more than the other, etc., etc. Just to kind of give yourself a good analysis of, you know, going forward. You obviously don't want to waste time. The goal, if your goal is to grow a lot of food, then you need to be able to hone in those things. Now I do have an entire raised bed garden that we are largely dedicating just to heirlooms for the sake of flavor and cooking. And I know that in that garden, I'm not worried about high yields and production. I'm worried about flavor. I'm picking it at its peak, coming inside immediately, you know, using it in the kitchen. So again, you have to kind of figure out your goals, but I think I'm a good representation of how you can do both and be successful at both. And so this was an unboxing video of my greenhouse production seeds I got from Johnny Seeds. I will find a link down below to let you guys shop them. I will say for the most part, I have grown all of these before for several years, and I've had great success with them. If you're wanting to really up your game in the small scale space, I highly recommend looking at hybrids, figuring out your goals, jotting it down on paper, and staying organized. But thank you all for hanging out with me. I'll talk to you soon.